Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for my Once Upon a Time recap. So tonight's episode was called Chosen, and it was the directorial debut of Lana. So congrats, Lana, on your directorial debut. This was definitely a fantastic episode. So let's get started. We see that this old witch, which I'm gonna assume is the witch in the Hansel and Gretel story, has Hansel and Gretel locked in this box, and she's basically, in the old fairy tale, fattening them up so she can eat them. And Selina comes in. I'm thinking, where are they at? I mean, find out later that they're actually all in Oz, and Selina wants the old witch banned from Oz, but she doesn't want anything of that. And we see that during that moment she drops the chandelier on Selina, which I thought was a little bit funny if you think about it, because she might have dropped a house. I mean, she might have dropped a chandelier on Selina, but you mess with the Wicked Witch, it will just drop a house on you. And apparently it knocked her out, and she was walking in the woods, and I guess the blow to her head made her pass out, and she was rescued. I didn't know who this character was at first because, we didn't know anything about this character. I thought maybe it was a villain capturing the Wicked Witch, and I also thought it might have been Selina's fiance, because we haven't heard anything about the fiance. We've only heard his voice, and his voices to me sounded quite similar. So he rescued her and made sure she was healthy enough to, walk around, because, Selina wanted her revenge on the Wicked Witch. And what we find out is actually the character who's called Evo is blind, and I didn't catch that at first until I watched probably midway through the episode. So it was really telling, because he's blind, so he obviously doesn't see Selina's green skin, so he loves her for who she is. But there's one thing Selina's leaving out: the fact that Evo's is actually Hansel and Gretel's father, and the fact that she knows that the old witch is keeping them hostage, and she hasn't told Evo's anything. So when she gets strong enough, she eventually gets the strength to go back to the old witch's candy house, and she actually steals the old witch's sight, which I didn't see that coming, because I assumed, that in the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale version, it's a blind witch. But apparently it's Selina that steals the blind witch's sight. And she steals it in no attempt to give Evo's his sight back. So you could see she's not being a wicked witch, she's trying to change. And I think that Evo's, doing that as a part of why she wants to change. And she goes in to try to rescue Hansel and Gretel, but they're nowhere to be found, and she's looking all around, can't find them or anything. And she goes back to Evo's house and sees that Hansel and Gretel there, and she's happy, that the witch didn't get a hold of them. But Evo is very pissed off the fact that Selina kept that secret, that she knew that Hansel and Gretel were his children, and didn't tell him that that they were captured by the old witch, and that she watched him search for them for days. And yeah, he's not having it. And young Hansel apparently has a thing for witches, doesn't like them at all. She tries to offer him his sight back as a sign of good gesture, saying that, he gave her a second chance, so she wants to be able to give him a second chance of his sight back. But he basically yells at her and says, "You're nothing more than a monster." So then, what does Selina do? She then drops the magic dust that I guess was the old witch's sight. She burns it, so then Evos can't see again. So Hansel then looks like he's about to attack Selina, but then she ends up burning his wrist, which explains why the candy killer in Hyperion Heights has his wrist burned. And I love this line at the end. So when you mess with Wicked, you get burned. I'm like, oh, hell yes, you do. So in Hyperion Heights, Selina gets a call from her fiance, Chad, which I thought Chad and Evos were the same person at first, because again, we didn't see what Chad looked like. We've only heard his voice before, and their voices sounded so similar to me. I thought, oh, Chad's actually a fairy tale character. Turns out Chad's actually a normie, and he's not a fairy tale character at all. Selina's dealing with the fact that she's next on the Candy Killer's hit list, and she gets a call from Chad, and it's on their anniversary, and she's conflicted because she wants to, be reunited with Chad, but at the same time, she doesn't want to get killed by the Candy Killer. And look at my notes here. Kelly's also worried about reuniting with Chad because of what's going on in Hyperion Heights now. She's afraid that he'll never choose Selina. Basically, she's afraid that Chad won't accept her for who she was in the past. And Jacinda gets a text from Henry saying that, basically everything's okay. I've had a good interview in New York, but we all know Henry didn't make it to New York because he's being held hostage by the Candy Killer. And he's writing messages back to Jacinda, so she thinks everything's all hunky-dory. And Kelly and her daughter Margot go to the police station to, inform them that she got the candy box that the Candy Killer's been sending his victims before he kills them. And Rogers, wants to question Kelly as protocol, but Kelly decides to talk to Weaver, who we all know is Rumpelstiltskin. Talk to him first, and Rumple tries to joke with her and says, how does it feel to be chosen before Regina? Because we've seen in past seasons how she had a vendetta against Regina basically because her mother gave Selina up but chose to keep Regina. How Rumple chose to tutor Regina in magic but chose not to tutor Selina. So that was really a blow there for Selina. For Kelly anyway. And let me see. We see that Henry is dealing with Nick. He's sitting there with his hands tied and is realizing what a psychopath he is. And he's trying to tell Henry that Kelly is his aunt, that's the Wicked Witch. Like, has this vendetta against witches because what they've done to him and because one of the witches has killed his sister Gretel. It's not Selina. Selina didn't have nothing to do with Gretel. But, he's starting to realize what's going on, and he wants to help him. He offers to use, the author powers to help him, but I don't know how, I don't know. That was a little bit confusing moment because he doesn't know he's the Henry in the book yet, so I don't know how he thought he could use author powers, but Nick wasn't buying it because Henry knows he can't just use his author powers. He has to, and when he offers to use it, he usually does it to trick a villain. And we see that Samdi, who is Dr. Facilier, is coming to collect a debt from Drew, and I'm wondering exactly what that is because I don't trust Samdi at all. I think he's up to no good. Let me look at my notes here. What I thought was probably one of the more epic moments of the episode. They had a lot of great scenes, but one of them was between Kelly and Rumple, and Selina wants to forget who she was in the past. She wants to get rid of the nasty part of her, that being Selina, because, and the wicked, well, no, not Selina, Kelly wants to get rid of the bad part of her, that being the Wicked Witch. And it's kind of like how Regina wanted to get rid of the evil queen, but Kelly makes a point saying that she's basically stuck with the Wicked Witch no matter what. And Rumple says that the nasty stuff is you can't get rid of it. That basically you keep it because it shows how far you've come and what you have to lose. And I thought that was a pretty powerful moment because it basically shows that, no matter what we've done in the past, it's basically made us stronger and is part of who we've become. And I'm really glad to see that that Kelly / Selina is accepting herself and keeping the Wicked Witch, accepting the part of herself, the Wicked Witch, not trying to separate herself, because I so thought they were going to go that route, and I hated that they did that to Regina. Ronnie and Kelly are prepared to fight the Candy Killer. They have a crowbar and bat ready. They are ready to fight. And Ronnie points out, because Kelly's telling her about how she's conflicted about her past, and if she's Kelly or Selina, and Ronnie reminds her that she can be both. And Rogers ends up saving Henry, and it's interesting because I think Henry's dealing with a lot too, because Nick decided to show him that he is indeed Lucy's father, and Henry's in denial about it, and he doesn't believe Nick for right reasons, because Nick did kill the doctor that saved Lucy, so why would he trust him? And apparently it looks like Lucy is on Nick's hit list, because when Rogers was questioning Jacinda as to where Henry might be, she's saying, oh, he's in New York, but Rogers checked the messages and found out that that couldn't be right, and sees that there's a gingerbread house in Jacinda's car that Nick gave to Lucy. So it looks like, it's not definite, we don't know that yet, but it's heavily implying that he's going to somehow try to get to Lucy some way or form. And we see that Nick actually has a hostage, and it's Selina's fiance, Chad. Let me see here. We see Nick then tries to kill Kelly, but she's able to open up a can of whoop ass, and she's able to she didn't kill Nick, because she definitely could have, because he was trying to kill her. I mean, it would have been self-defense, but Selina chose not to, because how much she's changed. I really do think that's character growth, how much Selina has changed, and I really can't stand when people bash Selina, because every single one of the characters has made mistakes, and those mistakes and how they've handled them and how they fix them is proof of character growth, and shows, I believe, shows who they truly are. And Kelly then tries to explain to Chad that she tries to move past her past mistakes, but her past always seems to catch up with her, and she decides to give Chad the ring back because she believes that Chad won't love her for who she is. And Chad does reveal that Chad loves every part of her, loves Selina and Kelly, and I thought that is, like, I was getting teary-eyed over that. Like, the fact that Selina is finally getting some happiness and she is getting a second chance of Chad, I really thought that's beautiful. It's so beautiful when somebody loves you truly for who you are, doesn't try to change you, they love and accept you for who you are, that's such a beautiful thing. Like, that really pulled at my heartstrings there. Henry goes to Jacinda and Lucy to greet them. Didn't really explain much there. I guess he has a lot to think about because he found out he's Lucy's biological dad. And we see that the reason why Sam D needed Drew is because he needed Drew to gain Sabine's trust. And this trust in this, I guess it was a beignet, he takes it and puts it in this voodoo doll. And I'm wondering exactly who that voodoo doll is for. And we see that Sam D actually goes to the police station where Nick is, and apparently Nick has been working with Sam D this whole time, and Sam D is the one who woke Nick up. So yeah, I knew you couldn't trust Sam D. And he wants Gothel gone. They both want Gothel gone, and Nick offers to kill her for him, but he failed. He could have killed the whole coven, as Sam D pointed out, but he didn't. So I don't know exactly what happened there because of cutoff, because of breaking news. So I'm hoping I'll get to see the preview for next week's show, like what happens, why Sam D wants to kill witches. Because now I'm thinking, was he behind the whole witch thing? Like, was that voodoo doll Nick and he was controlling him the whole time? Because why would he want to kill witches? And was one of the witches on his hit list Ronnie? Ronnie just, this was a very heartbreaking moment because Kelly says to Ronnie that she wants to stay here and help break the curse, but she also wants to be with Chad too. And Ronnie decides to let Kelly Selina go and let her be happy and live her life. And she basically put it saying that you get on that broomstick and you fly. Wow, those were powerful words. I love that. And Kelly offers to take Margot back to San Francisco because they've been getting closer, but she actually wants to stay in Hyperion Heights because she thinks that she's found new love, hinting that that's Alice. And apparently she knows her daughter, and she also accepts her for who she is, and that's a very beautiful thing too. And Kelly gives Margot the family heirloom, that being her wicked necklace, and gets to pass it down to her daughter. I thought that was a sweet moment, and asked her to be her maid of honor. So yeah, a lot went on in this episode. Sorry, this recap is a bit longer than usual, but a lot went on, and I got to give props to Lana. This was such a fantastic episode. You did a terrific job with directing it. Like, this had some of the most powerful scenes in the whole series and had a lot of the best lines. And also the scenes, like all the colors in the background, like the work on the blind witch's house is fantastic. Like, you did a really good job. You should definitely direct more often. And I have to give props to Bex too. Like, she is amazing. Her talent is phenomenal. And I think, if anything, this episode showed us that being able to accept the best and worst parts of us, like basically being able to accept ourselves for who we are and not be ashamed of it, because the past makes us into who we are today. And I think it's also about being able to love yourself for who you are, and other people being able to love you for who you are. Like, having those kind of people in your life is definitely rare nowadays, and that's just a beautiful thing to have that happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode like I did. If you're anything like me, I'll probably download the episode on iTunes, especially to find out what that last minute what happened with Sam D and Drew. Not Sam D and Drew, Sam D and Nick. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. If you guys want to check out Once Upon a Time, it is on Fridays, 8 p.m. on ABC. Till next time, stay regal.